Hello, I am James Alexander-Sinclair.
And yes, you are James Alexander-Sinclair. I'm Joe Swift.
And you are indeed Joseph Swift. And this is the Scribe Hand Gardening Podcast, where we, every week, drivel on about stuff, I guess is the way.
We get our teeth into a horticultural subject.
And spit it out.
Yeah, we spit it out at the end. No doubt about that.
Basically is how it works. And if you want more of this kind of stuff, then you should go and subscribe to Scribe Hand Gardening, which you can do very easily by following the link in the show notes. The other thing that we do, apart from talking about stuff, is that we invite the listener to come and share this space with us.
It's all about sharing and caring.
It certainly is. And what do we do? What do we want them to do, Joseph?
Well, we want them to email us with some questions.
But what's the email address?
The email address is gardening@scribehound.com.
Spot on.
I finally got it. And if we read it out, you could win one of these. Well, not this precise one, because this is my little rude one. That sounded all wrong, didn't it, Jimmy? But you could win a green gnome that does the Gareth Bale heart sign like that, because you will become a Scribe Hound legend in our books.
This is something rare, something much sought after by all the gardeners throughout the whole country.
But there's some questions that we will not answer. We won't even look at, aren't there?
There are. And they are, first of all, we do not deal with dead plants or depressing things. And nor do we deal with dull questions. Okay, we're going to talk about trees now. The trees, the majestic centrepiece of all of our gardens, of our countryside, of where we live. No matter where it is in the world, one of the things that we have in common with everywhere else is that everywhere has trees. Gardening can sometimes be bewildering, which is why I am so pleased that we have snuggled up with our friends at Crocus for this podcast series. As you probably know, Crocus is the most trusted online gardening brand. Their website is stuffed full of advice, inspiration, and of course, plants and products to help bring your dream garden to life. Check out Crocus's website to find out more. If you find something that you just cannot resist, use the code SCRIBEHOUND20 at the checkout to enjoy 20% off all full-price plants until October the 31st, which is, of course, Halloween. So my statement was not entirely accurate. And
almost everywhere.
It was almost everywhere. So everywhere, like here in this country, we have trees. Trees are, but two things actually. Trees are really, really important. Trees are also, some trees are in trouble.
Yes, they are.
I was walking near me yesterday, and there's all the trees coming out into leaf. Everything looking lovely. There's just 3 or 4 ash trees along that walk. They're all getting ash dieback, and they're going to have to come down. And there's places where you drive along, and all the trees beside the road have been felled. So trees are in trouble, which means that we must plant more of them, I guess.
Well, there is nothing more satisfying in gardening than planting a tree. I absolutely love planting trees. Doesn't matter if they're a whip or they're a mature specimen, but planting a tree, there's something wonderful about it. And then going back years later, seeing that garden, or looking over the fence, or if it's in a front garden, seeing it, growing and maturing and doing everything that it does.
I'm getting to the stage of my life where I'm worrying about that slightly.
Why?
Because you think, well, I'm going to plant a tree. How many more years have I got? Does it matter? No,
there's
it doesn't
the proverb.
Really
There's the proverb.
Yeah.
Hang on. No, let me get it. I've got to get this right. I've done this on telly a couple of times. A sophisticated society is where old men plant trees whose shade they will never sit under.
I prefer it, who plant trees under whose shade they will never sit. I feel that's better English.
No, well, I knew you were going to get it right, but I got the gist of it.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's basically it's the whole idea of it doesn't matter. Don't think about what you're going to see. Think about what future generations are going to see, and that's why we all plant trees. Is for that. And
it's not sophisticated. It's civilized society.
Civilized society. I think it's better than sophisticated.
Give me another half hour. I'll have it down pat.
It's okay. What we're going to do is going to come back to it in about 10 minutes and see if you can remember it.
Okay.
It's a sort of test.
Yeah,
thing.
that's good.
But trees, I remember.
Can I just stop you there? What is a tree?
Oh, what is a tree? What is the definition of a tree? I think that is probably something that's woody with leaves on.
Yeah.
I think that's. I mean, how else are you going to define
Okay,
it?
so there's large shrubs. Okay, that you could call sometimes some might call a tree. Some people might call a tree, like I don't know, lilac or a Philadelphus, which get to large shrub size.
I don't think that's a tree.
Yeah. Well, okay. There was a magazine. Should we mention the name? Should we out the magazine?
Might as well.
Gardens Illustrated.
Yes.
There you go. It's out now.
Yeah.
They invented a word a few months ago. Shrub.
Which
is a tree and a shrub.
Which is actually quite. I mean, I quite like the idea of that.
No, it should be a stree.
A stree
A
or
stree.
or a trub. I think a trub sounds a little bit
Like a trug.
it's like a trug, or it's like see what you could have a tree trubby.
Tree shrub. I'll tell you what it is. It's trying too hard to invent a new word to try and be fashionable.
But the idea is a good one.
We don't need to do that on this podcast, James.
We don't. Well, we can invent new words. We can invent new entire things. We can invent new disciplines. We can invent new scenarios and all that. In fact, that's what we do. Is we're scenario inventors. But the idea of the trub / stree is actually a good one. Is because if you haven't got room for a tree, maybe you've got room for a large shrub in your garden. It's the whole idea of planting something that is woody with leaves on. But
the stree or the trub or whatever it is a multi-stem form as well. So it's not just a It's not got a single stem like a lot of trees you would buy in a nursery.
Yeah.
Okay, they are standards. We call them. Basically, they got a single trunk, and then they got all the canopy on the top.
Yeah.
But basically, they're woody. They're woody with leaves. They're woody with
There you
leaves.
go. But sometimes they have berries, sometimes they have fruit, sometimes they have flowers as well. But the basic thing, the answer to your question is they're woody with leaves on them.
Yeah.
So I remember years ago planting probably my first wood when we moved out of London, came to live in the countryside. And
Planting what, whole wood?
Yeah, and somebody said we need to plant some trees because they needed a barrier between their house and the road, and so we planted these trees. And this is
Hang on, how many trees makes up a wood?
Oh, I think this was probably about 500 or 600.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 5 or 6. That is a wood.
Yeah, I mean that's probably. I mean we planted them all as whips and quite small.
Yeah.
But what's exciting about it is because that's really quite a long time ago now because I'm quite ancient, and driving past it now, I can see that's exactly what you were talking about. The civilized society. These are trees under which you can sit. They cast shade.
How much satisfaction do you get from having planted that wood?
Huge amount.
Yeah.
Huge amount. And actually, those were in the days when I actually wielded a spade rather than pointed at people and saying, "My good man, could you dig a hole there, please?" So I actually did plant quite a lot of them myself, physically. And you go and you see this thing, and it's you can climb it. Right. The whole idea of being able to climb a tree that you planted, I think, is rather wonderful.
Yeah.
And rather nice. And then there's a hillside I went to look at the other day, and they've got trees that suddenly look like proper trees that I remember. I remember when they were babies.
Yeah.
I remember you when you were tiny. And now you're huge and full of squirrels and all that kind of stuff. But trees, everybody should have room for a tree or possibly a stree.
A stree.
I can't get my tongue around that.
No, I think a garden, even a very small garden, feels like it's missing something without a tree. There's a maturity, there's a solidity, there's a sort of the gravitas that a tree brings that you might not get. And even in a very small garden, you can grow a tree. Obviously not an oak or a eucalyptus or anything ridiculous like that. We don't want too much information, but do your research.
We can give a name of a tree. Go give a name of a tree.
Me?
Yeah.
Crataegus prunifolia.
That's a very nice front garden tree.
Oh, I've just planted 3 of those. Yes, that's a lovely tree. Beautiful tree.
I'm thinking if you've got a town or city garden a little bit sheltered, maybe an arbutus. If you've got an evergreen tree,
I've just planted one of those last week. I love arbutus, the strawberry tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really lovely thing.
Yeah, great evergreen, but not not coniferous, no. But it's got a beautiful bark. Oh, look, there we go. We're going into information mode. We can't stop it.
It's because we're brimming with knowledge that we want to share with people. Is what it is.
Okay, your least favourite tree.
I don't think I've got a least favourite tree. I think I love all trees, and all trees love me.
There's that flamingo willow, right?
Oh no, that's
Exactly.
a shrub. That one is.
No, it's sold as a tree, and you see it in. It's still available because I actually Googled it this morning, thinking it was something from 20 years ago when everyone walked out of a flower show with a tree in a pot. With this, it's a sort of willow shape with variegated leaves that
Yeah.
go pink. The new growth goes pink,
Yeah.
and it's frankly horrible.
It's a horrible tree. It doesn't have a good place anywhere. And yeah, it's just a really, really bad idea. A willow is a nice idea. This is basically an adulterated willow that somebody has grafted something else onto.
Yeah.
Is it the Kilmarnock? Is it related to the
Yes,
Kilmarnock willow?
yes. It's very
It is.
similar. It might be the same thing. They just changed its name to try and sell a load more.
So okay, I don't like that. What's quite I met an interesting tree the other day at the RHS garden at Hyde Hall, which is called a tuna. Do you know a tuna?
Ah,
It's like a
what,
tuna
does it come in
sandwich.
tins?
Hey,
Hey.
no, its new leaves are serious pink, like bubblegummy pink, and then they turn green later on. And it's this tree you're looking at, you're thinking, what is that? And it's called a tuna. Toona.
T-O-O-N-A.
Yeah,
Tuna.
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 Tuna. I think our scribe hand colleague Matt Pottage is very keen on.
Do we know where it comes from, the tuna?
No, come on, that's too much information. Then we're going into
I think
education
it
again.
probably
now.
comes from the sea somewhere, doesn't it?
It's a seaside tree.
Yeah.
But I quite like that. There are some trees that people say, oh, you shouldn't plant them, and I quite like doing that. Like suckering trees, rus.
Ah, yes.
But the colour on that is amazing.
Rustifina.
I
Oh,
find-
now, hang on a minute. I don't think that's a tree. We're there back there,
It's
you
a
see.
tree.
No, it's
It's
a
a suckering tree.
It's a shrub. It's a shrub. It's a suckering shrub, and the autumn colour is incredible. And the staghorn sumac. And
That's it.
in the 70s, you know, it was in every garden I gardened, at the back of the garden, there would be that suckering itself away. And then it went completely out of fashion, and now it's back again.
I'm bringing it back in. I planted.
It's not
planted a
you
number of
bringing it
those.
back
Yes,
again.
it is. I'm the person who's talking about it on this
No.
podcast. saying
I
this is a
saw
good-
Tom Stewart Smith did it in a garden, and you just picked up on that as usual. Just because you got a double barrel name,
It's
you
the
have to join
autumn
in.
colour. I'm ignoring almost
Oh,
everything you're saying at the moment. But
incredible.
autumn colour, I think, is a really, really important part of a tree.
Yeah.
There's two things. There's the spring. So this time of year when they're just first coming out, it's little baby leaves, like little lettuce leaves that come out, are fantastic. And then the autumn is the. I think I'm going to say something quite
Deep.
deep here.
Oh, come on.
Is that I don't think that I would bother to plant a tree that didn't have an autumn show.
I'm with you.
Really, something that just limped out, away from the summer and just hobbled off into the winter without doing something spectacular and exciting as its swan song, without a sort of an explosion of orange and crimson.
Yeah, but
I think
why
it
would
needs
you
it.
plant something? When you can plant something that does it all, you can plant something that flowers, berries or fruits, got great autumn colour. You know, some of the sorbus are fantastic. Hawthorns and cornus, and there's so many out there.
There's too much information.
I know I know.
Stop the
I
information,
can't
but I'm
help
going
it.
to share one sorbus, my favourite sorbus, which is called
Oh, I like lemon sorbus.
lemon sorbus, the orange sorbus. Do you remember? Did you ever have those orange sorbuses that you used to get in a hollowed out orange?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
you and then
In
if-
Italian restaurants.
yeah, exactly. And if it was a lazy one, then you just get in a plastic orange, and it would have the orange.
And then
into it.
clean it out and fill it up again for the next punter.
Anyway, sorbus, not sorbet.
Yeah, which sorbus is your favourite sorbus?
It's Olympicum dudong.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's got the leaves. It's like standing on the side of the river on New Year's Eve, except without somebody dribbling and being sick on your shoes at the same time.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's good. So that's trees, basically. So
No, hang on. I've got to do my shit because
Okay.
well, I'm going to move on because in my new garden that I know everyone knows about, I've inherited some incredible trees.
Yeah.
I've got a little mini woodland, so I've got some mature oaks.
It's quite a big
lime,
woodland. It's a
beech.
decent-sized
well,
woodland.
The whole garden's about an acre and a half, and it's maybe a quarter of the whole garden. So a quarter doesn't go into an acre and a half very easily without a calculator. But you see what
It's
you're
big
talking-
enough.
It's big enough.
I mean, there are trees in your woodland that you can climb, aren't there? They're big enough to climb.
Yes, you could climb them, definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, you love climbing trees, so I
I
think
do
you
like
should.
climbing a tree. I should come.
But actually, one of my favourite trees is this Circidophyllum japonicum, which is amazing. It's two-dimensional because it had a dead tree behind it, which I took out, so it's pretty like flat. But it's great because from the house you see the flat, you see it in its
yeah.
full glory. But when you go around the side, it sort of it's like a flat piece of paper almost. But it's when it comes into leaf in the spring, and it's backlit by the sun and out of my bedroom window, it is absolutely incredible. It's delightful. And it's something to actually make me get out of bed. It helps me wake up and gets me out of bed to look at it, which is not easy for me.
I think that's. I mean, it's quite useful to have a sort of a one side. I mean, obviously, it's because it's been starved of light on one side, which is why but it's actually quite nice to have that, and it is that two-dimensional thing, so you can walk around it. But that tree, see, how did you pronounce it?
Cercidophyllum japonicum.
See, I would call it cercidophyllum.
Yeah, well, I go between the two. I'm a little bit, ambidextrous about those two.
I think it's fine to be bidextrous or whatever it sort of works.
Yeah.
But in the
I'll
autumn
just go with
time,
the flow, whoever I'm chatting to.
in the autumn time,
In the autumn time, yes. So it goes a wonderful, well, all these different colours, sort of orangey, purpley, russety, and it smells.
buttery yellow as well. It's got a really nice buttery yellow.
Buttery yellow.
And the smell thing is, somebody told me about it when I first heard about it. I thought, really?
Yeah.
Smell of old burnt candy floss.
Candy floss, yeah, it's like sugar.
It's true.
Yeah.
It does it. It's right. Okay, so that means that we've actually we've given us a little bit of advice there, which is what we try and avoid.
Oh, I'm a bit worried. I'm kind of completely colourblind.
You won't be the only garden designer who's colourblind.
No, I know. No, Dan Pearson is colourblind. I think we talked about this. But at the weekend, I was
You wrote about this
show.
for Scribehound.
Yeah,
Plug
yeah.
that.
But I've got my hats.
I know your hats.
You know my Panama hats.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a band around the middle of it, and I thought it was like I call it an Air France bleu.
Okay.
Sort of grey blue.
Yves Klein bleu.
Yeah, great. But everyone's like, "There's no blue in that whatsoever." Mark Diacono said it had aubergine in it, and I definitely need to have my colourblind tested.
I think what we might do is we might put a photograph of it on Scribehand's social media, and then the people who listen can vote as to whether you're aubergine or whether you're bleu.
I don't think it might not come out properly in a photo, but yeah. Slightly worrying.
No, I do know what you mean, because I quite often say to Celestia, my wife, and say, "Okay, that's that colour," and she looks at me in this sort of odd. What do you mean? It's not at all. It's a completely different colour. And so maybe men see it differently to women, or maybe I'm just colourblind as well.
Yeah, or maybe
it's just us.
Colour is so subjective, isn't it? Because if you call something green, like this gnome is green, right?
It is very.
I mean,
very
you couldn't
green.
get more green than that.
It's extremely.
I call that a
green.
Volkswagen Beetle green.
Oh, I don't think you go Volkswagen that colour.
I've seen a
would you?
Volkswagen Beetle that colour, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, apple green. Is that Granny Smith green? I mean,
It's Granny Smith green. It is. It's a freshly picked pea green. I mean, not pea, but pea.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. It's pea green. It's pea green.
Pea green. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Sometimes I have to do that just to make sure that I'm
make sure we're on the
same
same
terms
thing.
of reference.
Anyway, okay, it's enough about that. Aubergines. So we need to work out somehow or other what colour Joe's hat band is.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I think we have questions that we need to answer from the adoring public. Actually, more the adoring public. What they are, anybody whose question we answer now, they are an official Scribehound legend. And so our questions for today. Do you want to start off?
Okay, yeah. I'll start off. I need my glasses for this one. Brian from Bournemouth.
Hey.
My neighbours recently cut down a tree. That means I now look directly into their newly astroturfed garden from my bed instead of beautiful greenery. Oh, I thought the question was going to be, what should I replant? What's good trees good for privacy? No, the question is, how can I get revenge?
Oh, that's more exciting.
How can I get revenge from the neighbours cutting down a tree into their newly astroturfed garden from my bed? Yeah, I get that, Brian. You want revenge. I understand that.
This is
Fair
like
enough.
the Duchess of Malfi for gardeners, isn't it? Something exciting. Okay, so
revenge.
Revenge.
Revenge for a neighbour's garden.
Revenge is
I mean,
best.
obviously, slugs and snails. Everyone lobs them into the neighbours' gardens
He's
anyway.
got astroturf garden.
Got astroturf garden.
So that's not going to do any good.
Oh, so maybe some heat. If you apply a heat to plastic.
One of the things
But
about astroturf
is that really mean?
is that it
Is that
holds,
illegal? It's probably illegal.
It holds the smell.
What astro?
AstroTurf holds the smell. You know that you have somebody with an AstroTurf garden and they've got a dog and they think it's a good idea, and then the dog pees in it, and then that smell never leaves.
The dog does worse than peeing on it. Sometimes.
Whatever it does, that never leaves, and then the summer's heat comes on and it comes out so.
Oh, excuse me.
So okay, my solution. This is cunning, all right.
Yeah, but hang on, you're living next door. You don't want to smell this thing.
No.
If it's too smelly, you're going to smell it too.
I know, but you have to suffer in order to get good revenge, don't you? Really, sometimes revenge involves hurting yourself as well in order to be able to do it. So there's a little bit. It's going to be much worse for him than it is for you. So it's a variation on the idea that if you don't like somebody, then if you go into their house when they're not there and put some prawns behind their radiator. Then as the radiator heats up, the prawns smell,
and you're long gone. You're
long gone, and you'll never be able to find them. So if we get something really smelly onto the door, how about some eggs? So you throw eggs over the fence
At night time, so you don't get caught.
and then you've got broken egg all over there.
Yeah.
And then very slowly the egg sort of festers and moulders and begins to smell of basically the depths of hell, because it's that sort of sulphury smell. That's one way of getting revenge.
That's quite good. I don't think I can peak that.
Well, I mean, the other thing I guess is to plant something really horrible that's going to interfere with their view.
Well, then you have to put it on your side.
That's
so you're
the thing.
blocking the view on your side, but you don't. But that's in your garden. You don't want to plant something horrible in your own garden.
Could you?
I mean, just to spite your neighbours.
Could you give them a present? Could you pretend that you're not really, there's this foment of revenge in your
You give them the
stomach.
present of the tree that you want planted to create that green backdrop for your garden. So you send a tree round to them with a little garden plan of where to put it, and a spade and some manure and a stake. You need a stake and a sledgehammer to put the stake in with, and a tree tie and a watering can. And all of that, maybe.
But they're not going to see that.
That's silly. That's silly.
No, because you're going to have to plant it in the place where you wanted it before.
Yeah.
So you get the view. So
and there's probably a stump there.
There's a stump there, so that's
not necessarily.
that's
They could have ground out the stump to put the astroturf in.
But you have another. Oh gosh, it's a really, really difficult one. I think okay, you could move house. You could subject them to a...
Moving house is not getting revenge on your neighbour.
Well,
that means they've won. You can't let them win.
No, you can't. Okay, so maybe you just need to pester them. You go knock on their door all the time.
I've got it, right? What you do is you create a document that looks like an official council document. Okay, and there was a tree preservation order, or you're in a conservation area, and the tree that they chopped down was protected. And you have to forge something to make it look like they're going to get fined. And there is up to a £30,000 fine for chopping down a tree in a conservation area. So that's what you do. You basically get them absolutely grapping themselves that they're going to get done for taking this tree out.
I think that can go so far, but you're not actually going to enforce that one unless you then have to...
but it's stress, James.
It's stress.
Stress is good.
We're putting stress on them.
Well, stress is bad, but it's good if you want revenge.
Okay, I've got a question here from Felicity in London.
Hi, Felicity.
Hello, Felicity. I bought a lovely I bought a lovely Tasmanian tree fern during lockdown. The most expensive plant I've ever bought, which says something given I've killed 2 rhubarb crowns. Hang on, there's quite a big difference between a Tasmanian tree fern and a rhubarb.
I don't know how much you're paying for your rhubarb crowns.
Maybe she's just not very good.
Where is she?
She's in London. I looked after it with unusual care, but this year it's looking worryingly brown. I'm in a frost-free, sheltered central London garden. I tried feeding it and hope that it'll do the trick, but I can't lose him and the dog. I'm sorry? Oh, the dog is not dead yet, but... This is quite a complicated emotional thing here. Okay. First question is that this question is too practical for us.
Well,
we don't really do questions like
No.
this. But if we say to Felicity, we refuse to answer your question, and she's in quite a delicate position at the moment because the dog is not dead yet, but is pretending to be dead. Do you think we'll tip her over the emotional edge if we refuse to answer her question, or should we just say tough?
What do you mean the dog's pretending to be dead?
I don't know. I'm just reading what's written here, but it makes very little sense. But apparently, she's tried feeding
She should try feeding the dog.
Well, that would help,
She should
wouldn't
try
it?
feeding the dog, not the tree fern.
But she
That's
can't-
the problem.
She can't. She's worrying about losing the dog at some point, but it's not dead
well,
yet.
of course she's going to lose the dog at some point. We all, you know.
I'm sorry. This is too complicated.
Oh,
psychologically.
Felicity.
I'm gonna.
Okay, this is the big question. Does she get a gnome for trying to confuse the hell out of us?
No, I don't think she does.
Oh,
Do you know?
that's
do
the
you know
only
why?
reason she wrote in. Probably.
I know it is, but she's not going to get a gnome because a gnome is like an RHS gold medal, hard to get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much coveted.
Much coveted. Much coveted, blankety blank checkbook and pen. So I'm sorry, Felicity.
Well, Felicity,
I'm
sorry,
sympathetic, but no.
Well, the problem is we don't have any rules and regulations to our letters, which is a good thing. But you just think you would have thought that people who have written a letter or an email might be able to put something cohesive together.
I mean, she could lie. We don't really care, but she could give us something decent.
think
But,
she
but
probably-
basically, it's a dead plant which we don't do.
I think she is lying. Okay, here's one from Keish, Leighton Buzzard. I have a new build garden that I've let go completely wild for 3 years, and I'm now totally overwhelmed. What can I do to make the garden a pleasant place to be without spending a fortune? People think we're like some sort of agony uncles.
Hang on,
They haven't quite got the hang of Scribe Hound
No,
podcast.
they
have
haven't quite got the hang of it yet. They need to. So what is the question?
I have a new build garden I've let go completely wild for 3 years.
Yeah.
It's called rewilding. Everyone gets away with that
Brilliant.
these
Yeah,
days.
great.
They're totally overwhelmed. Keish is totally overwhelmed. What can I do about to make the garden a pleasant place to be without spending a fortune? Well, why don't you do some gardening? Well, you know,
that's what it's for.
That would be a good place to start.
It would.
Just stop writing into us and, you know, maybe just get out there and put some effort in. That's the thing. People think it's like you just ask a question. It's like when I go around a flower show. Okay, someone comes up to me and goes, I've got this north-facing wall, okay? I've got this north-facing wall, and I want to put a climber up it, and I don't know what to put it up here, and all this sort of stuff. And they just want to be involved. So I say, well, you could put an ivy, tracheospermum, and I actually go into some really interesting advice.
Yep.
Bump into them a couple of hours later in the show. I say, what was those plants I mentioned? They haven't written them down at all. They can't remember any of them. They just want to ask a question, and I think that is Keisha's problem.
I think that's another reason. I don't think we're not giving away any gnomes this week.
Is there no gnomes at all? Have you not got another question?
No, we had one. So Felicity, no. Who was the one before we had Keish?
Yeah, Brian.
Brian gets one.
From Bournemouth, definitely.
Yeah,
gets one.
Brian might even get two.
Yeah.
Basically. So Brian with his Revenger's Tragedy is
he could have one
good.
for himself, and he could lob one over the fence into his neighbour's garden.
That's not revenge. That's rewarding bad behaviour.
But he could put an egg. He could put an egg on the top of it.
I think it's the egg thing. You've got to do the eggs anyway. So Keish basically has got to do some gardening.
Very
simple.
gardening.
You don't spend a fortune. Just get out there and do some work. And if you don't,
So you're careful. You're going to proper advice there.
no.
Grow from seed. Get lots of cutting.
No, forget all that nonsense.
Plan it
Basically,
out
you can
nicely.
do all of that. But basically, if she's not enjoying her garden, this is the advice you should give to everybody.
Why
if
do you
you're not
think
enjoying
Keish is a
garden,
woman?
Stop doing it.
I'm not sure Keish is a woman. Well, it
Do
doesn't
you think
say.
so?
Or they. I mean, come on.
Could be. Could be.
But it was you made that assumption.
Keish, if they're not enjoying their garden, stop doing it. Basically.
Well, they've stopped doing it for 3 years. That's the problem.
Well, exactly. Well, either you have to have the courage of your convictions. Anyway, okay. So Felicity, no gnome. Keish, no gnome. I've got George here from Winchester. Very short question. Fairy lights, yes or no? I don't think there's a lot of effort being put into this question, to be perfectly honest.
No, I like it. It's direct. It's straight to the
simple.
point. And when you know we are not capable of giving a yes or no answer
To this,
I would say yes, because I have friends up the road who have fairy lights and what are those other lights?
Festoon.
Oh, I love that word. Festoon lights.
Yeah.
Have it on their house, and actually, we might have a bit of a do this summer because it's a big birthday coming up and all that, and I'm actually going to go a bit fairy light. Anne-Marie Powell loves a fairy light.
Yeah.
Okay. go for it, but don't leave them up forever. That's what happens with them. They're up there all the time, these fairy lights, and they're on a solar thing. So every night, they should be an occasional light in my book.
A Christmas light. Are we talking a Christmas light?
Well,
a Christmas light is a
Christmas-
different thing. Christmas light, I thoroughly approve of a Christmas light, as distasteful as possible. Definitely. And I think a fairy light as a party light is a really good idea.
Yeah, party, occasional. That's what I meant, a big occasion or an occasion.
But there's a house that I know near us where the Christmas lights are down on all the time.
All year round.
Basically, they're sort of there. There's this big conifer, and the conifer has now grown so big you can't get the Christmas lights out of it. The battery, I think, gave up a couple of years ago, but for at least 2 years, it was just every night it would come on and start doing stuff. But the solar panel or whatever has been removed, and so the lights are there. You can't get up the tree to get them out again. So you're right; they must not overstay their welcome.
No.
But a festoon light is actually a good idea, and the reason why a festoon light is a good idea because if you're lighting a garden.
Can we just? I like the festoon light. Okay, basically they sort of like light bulbs on a string.
It's like fairy lights on steroids.
No, they're like proper light bulb shapes though. But now because they're LEDs, you don't have the worry about one, electrocuting yourself, or two, if one bulb goes, they all go.
Exactly.
That was the nightmare with Christmas.
You don't have
Christmas tree.
exactly. That was the thing where you have to spend forever unscrewing and screwing in bulbs in order to make the thing work.
Yeah.
But with a festoon light, it's a light bulb in a string going, and what it does. Okay, so you light a garden, you light it, little uplights in the trees makes it all look pretty, but it doesn't actually mean that you can see your soup to eat it if you're eating outside. Because what you need to do is you need an overhead light.
Yeah.
And you can't do an overhead light because there's no such thing as sky hooks.
Or actually, what I find really useful these days is a head torch. Right? Don't go out in the garden without a head torch and some soup.
Yeah,
because
you want to eat, otherwise you're spooning soup all over your waistcoat.
Yeah, and also it's great. But I blind the missus's eyes. Every time I look at her, she's like, I can't see my soup anymore because there's nothing better than a head torch.
But a festoon light will avoid that problem because you've actually got a light that hangs.
So what we're saying, fairy lights okay, but festoon lights are better.
Yeah, I think basically what we're saying to George is we're saying great question. Admirably brief.
I don't think we're finished. I'm not finished yet. It's a very brief question because the application of a festoon light is different from a fairy light because a festoon should be on a structure. You wouldn't dangle festoon lights from a tree. It would go on a building.
Or pergola.
Or a pergola.
Yeah.
Okay, or between the two maybe or something like that. Whereas a fairy light you might, put onto a tree or a shrub.
A fairy light, I agree, will go into a tree.
Or a street.
Or it could be just scrumpled up artistically in a bowl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or something along those lines. But I think there's two different things. I think we approve of fairy lights on certain circumstances, but we approve of festoon lights not just for artistic reasons, but also for practical purposes and the drinking of soup.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's not bad, is it?
I know you're trying to finish this. I like this light discussion.
We've got a live question whilst recording.
We've got a live
question.
So
how can we have a live question? Okay, so Louis, who's our producer, is out there monitoring things and doing stuff, and he is actually, instead of listening to us, he's playing with his phone, and somebody sent him an email. So the question is, are we going to hear Louis' voice asking us what the question is?
We have a rowan tree in our garden, and it smells ... disgusting, like something is rotting. There's nothing fresh about it, which is not what I want in my garden, particularly at this beautiful time of year. Is there a tree or bush or plant that I can put near it or under it that could mask or distract from the stench of the rowan?
Wow. Do they smell rowan trees?
Apparently, according to Louis' friend.
We used to have them in the street outside our house, and I just thought it was the bins.
I know that there are certain things that do smell at this time of year. Hawthorn smells pretty horrible at this time of year. It smells very earthy.
Yeah, but I mean, really, he's obviously got a real...
I don't know which one this is, and I know that the ginkgo smells horrible when it flowers if you get the female ones. But I don't know the answer to this question, which is okay, I think, isn't it? Is it okay to show fallibility on a podcast?
Well, I think some practical advice is to plant scented things around this rowan
Next
to counteract the stench.
I mean, it's not going to last very long. It's very good. Maybe.
Well, no, the smell's not going to last very long. You
because
mean
it's going to
rather
go.
than the tree?
Maybe it's somebody next door to them taking revenge.
Yes.
And planting a rowan tree there, so it's
Or coming out at night and spraying the rowan tree with something really stinky and trying to blame the rowan tree for smelling when it isn't actually the rowan tree.
I don't know which rowan it is either, because I've never come across a smelly rowan. Have you?
No. Well, I mean,
Do you think
there
possibly
was what's her name? Yeah, Rowan. I met her once.
behave? Behave. I haven't there are certain things that do smell, but I haven't come across a smelly rowan. So maybe. I mean, I don't want to cast nasturtiums upon this questioner, but maybe they got the tree wrong.
Yeah, they might have maybe it's the wrong tree. Maybe
That means it's their fault, not ours.
Yeah, exactly. You got the wrong tree. That's definitely
that's
the wrong.
basically
Yeah,
what it is.
definitely the
I
wrong
think
tree. You got a
that's the
smelly
answer.
tree, not a nice tree.
We haven't got a sensible answer for it. Nor have we even got any answer at all. So it will go. All things will pass.
It will go.
And the
If
smell
you
of it
leave it
will
long
pass
enough,
as well.
it'll all go.
Yeah, there's not much. And yes, you could smell, but you have to have something so strongly scented next door to it, and flowering at the same time.
Yeah, which might make it.
It would just be tricky.
So there's some plants that people. Okay, so something like cranberry cordifolia.
Yes.
Okay, so it's honey. People say it's honey scented.
Not to me.
No, to me it's cat's piss.
To me, it's old drains.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's that kind of.
I think old drains.
Old
no.
drains is
Well, like
is-
Victorian drains,
is-
London.
Yeah,
Victorian.
just sort of not quite
Yeah.
working drains.
Yeah.
So the other one that's like that is
Euphorbia mellifera.
yes, I get honey from that one.
Yeah, I get honey from that, but then it goes a bit cat's pee to me.
What about box?
Well, box is definitely cat's pee.
And-
there was one garden, I literally thought there would be a cat spraying all over the garden. And I was like, oh my, we've got to do something here. And actually it was a
It's
box
just
in the
box.
corner. Yeah.
The other one is
Which is an advantage of not planting blocks because no one plants box anymore.
because of that as well as everything else.
No, not because of that. But it's an advantage you don't smell so much of it.
That's true. And then geranium macrorrhiza.
Yeah.
That smells of cat pee as well. So there's a risk.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do a whole podcast on things that smell disgusting.
Things that aren't cat's pee but smell like cat's pee.
Yeah, see? We can have a competition for the Scribe Hound Legends. Pee or not pee? We could write it. Anyway, enough of that. Okay, fine. We're done.
I know. I
think.
want to just quickly go back to the lighting because we
thought
were
we
interjected.
We've
I've got an idea, James. Let's do a whole special on garden lighting
yeah, okay. I could
because
buy
things have
into
moved
that one.
on. Things have moved on with
a lot.
solar and sensors that come on and off, and I've done quite remarkable
Don't
things.
shoot your bolt early, as
No,
they say.
yeah.
We're going to hold that one. We're going to do something about lighting sometime later on in the series.
Maybe nearer Christmas.
That would be festive, wouldn't it? We have to think of our Christmas special even now. But in the meantime, I think we're done here.
Yeah.
So that over there is Joseph Swift.
Yes, and that over there is James Alexander-Sinclair.
And this has been the Scribe Hound Gardening Podcast. If you have a question and you wish to become a Scribe Hound legend, then you need to send us an email to...
gardening@scribehounds.com.
That is the one.
And if we read it out, well, let's go for a percentage. 95% of them.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple today that
are rejects.
didn't make it. Didn't make it. There's some basic. I mean, the basic was to just put some effort in. A little bit. Think about it. Put a bit of effort in. We're not a couple of numpties. Don't treat us like idiots. And
Yeah.
And you could win one of these.
You could win a no. And if you want more of this stuff that actually doesn't all involve Joe and I, actually.
Have we got any
you
more
should go
memorabilia?
Any what?
We need some more merch.
We're going to have merch. We're going to have hats with aubergine bands on it and all sorts of things is going to happen. But hang on, you interrupted me. If you want more of this stuff, then you should go and subscribe to Scribe Hound Gardening, where you will get a column from one of 30 brilliant writers every day, which you can read or you can listen to. And that will give you a little bit more of the magic and mystery of Scribe Hound Gardening.